Okay, wonderful. Can everybody hear me okay? Loud and clear? Right on. Well, welcome to another episode of Success Principles. Happy Friday, everybody. It's good to see you. Today, we are going to be picking up our conversation where we left off last week with the discussion on faith. Now, faith is one of those words where, to be honest with you guys, a little bit like decision. I think that faith is one of the most lip service words in the English language. Like, most people are familiar with the word, most people are aware of it, but it's easy to talk about faith, a little different to have to live it, isn't it? Similar with decision. Easy to talk about decision, totally different when you're in that state and you need to make a decision. You know what I mean? So today we're talking about faith. Before we go any further, though, what comes to mind for you when I say the word faith? What comes up for you guys? You guys thinking like prayer, Jesus Christ, or rosary beads, or what does that word mean to you? Let's
I
go.
think about having faith in myself and faith in my goals.
Faith in yourself and faith in your goals.
Yes.
Okay. And what do you mean by faith in your goals?
Like if something I think isn't perhaps achievable, I have to have faith that it can be and it will be achievable.
Okay. So faith that it is possible
Yes.
and that you can find a way to make it possible.
Yes. No matter the circumstances.
No matter the circumstances. Okay, cool. I like that. Thanks, Jamie. Anybody else? What comes up for you when I say the word faith? Melissa.
I think for me, faith is, when somebody says like have a little faith or like, I think for me it's just trusting that like maybe I'm not the only part of the whole process, that there's something else out there, that there's something else that's being that will, ultimately help in my end goals being met. So I have to trust the process, or I have to have faith that there are other things happening around me that are playing a role in my final destination. And I might not see it, but I have to have faith that it is there and it is pushing me in the right direction. And it is giving me signs and it is helping me trust and have faith that it will happen. Right.
Okay, cool. So for you, that means like trusting in the process and having faith that there are other processes at play or other forces at play that are either supporting you or helping you bring it all together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I like it. Brett says evidence of things not yet seen. Maybe sounds a little bit similar to what you're getting at, Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jamie said faith in herself. Sounds like Brett and Melissa are saying something like faith in the unseen. Cool. I like it. I'm on board. Now, the definition, if you look it up in the dictionary, the definition of faith is a strong belief in someone or something. A strong belief in someone or something. That's what we're talking about here. Is belief, I think, is the operative word there. And actually, that word is mentioned hundreds of times in the chapter on faith alone in Think and Grow Rich. And I can only imagine that it's like thousands of times throughout Think and Grow Rich, the rest of the book. I actually started counting. I was curious. I started counting how many times Napoleon Hill mentioned the word belief, believe, or faith. And finally, I got discouraged. I was like, there's got to be a better use of my time than to go through and count this. I Googled it, I searched it, I had AI try to give me an answer, and I couldn't find an answer anywhere. So if anybody knows or wants to take the time to count the number of times that Napoleon Hill says the word belief or believe, I would certainly be interested to know. But Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, he says that anything that the mind can conceive and believe, it can what? It can achieve. Anything that the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But here's the thing, the state of mind has to be belief. It's not a matter of hoping. It's not a matter of wanting. It's not even a matter of wishing. It's got to be that belief. So I've got good news and I've got bad news. The bad news is that if you've set a goal for yourself and it's a worthy goal, or maybe even if it's a progressive goal, if it's something that you have not yet achieved, chances are that there's probably a part of you that maybe wonders or doubts or worries or thinks to yourself, like, is that possible? Am I really able to do that? Like, am I for real? Is that going to happen? You know, now the good news is that if there's a little bit of doubt in your mind, that's actually a great thing. Like, that means, that tells me that you're dreaming big. So way to go. Congratulations. You're on the right track. You know, but Bob Proctor says that when you set a big goal, you won't start out believing it, that you come to believe it. You come to believe it. So how do you come to believe that a goal like that is possible? How do you develop belief, or develop, in this case, we're talking about like faith and belief. How would you develop belief? Jamie?
Affirmations and visualization.
Affirmations and visualization. That helps you develop belief, does it? You've experienced that personally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Okay, cool. Brett says stacking small wins. Yeah. Maybe helps kind of like build confidence a little bit in yourself and, you know, moving towards your goal. Yeah. Anything else?
Taking action towards your goal.
Taking action towards your goal. That'll help you develop faith and build that belief a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I would say that. You know, one of the things I've mentioned before is that, you know, the funny thing about faith is that your action cannot surpass your faith, and your faith cannot surpass your action. Now, this is a tricky one to wrap your head around, but what I've found is kind of like what Janelle's saying, is that when you take action in faith, what happens is that you develop more faith. And if you lack the faith, if you lack the belief that it's possible, you're not going to take that action, are you? I'll say that again. Your action cannot surpass your faith, and your faith cannot surpass your level of action. They kind of go hand in hand. It's one of the many paradoxes of life, isn't it? But I find that the bigger action that I take, the more faith that I develop. And the more faith that I develop, the bigger actions I can continue to take. It's a bit of a conundrum. But here in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says, we're talking about how do you develop belief, or how do you develop and cultivate faith? He says that faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created, like Jamie is saying, by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. Can I read this one more time? Faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instruction to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. It can be created or induced. Now, I would go so far as to say that not only can it be created, but it must be created. You must create that through the power of autosuggestion and the principle of autosuggestion. Otherwise, what's going to happen? Well, the paradigm is going to continue to run your show. It will run the show. You won't even really realize it. Okay. So he says a state of mind. Faith is a state of mind. Well, if faith is a state of mind, what part of the mind would you find faith in? Where does that appear? Where does that show up? You know, if we were to draw the stick man right here, do you think that would be in the intellectual and the reasoning and the logical side? Or is that more in the subconscious and the emotional and the feeling side?
I would say it's definitely in the subconscious part of your mind.
You think it's in the subconscious?
Yeah, because it's almost hard to put like a tangible connection to what it is. So it's almost like it has to be there
That has to be there.
in my mind. But
Okay,
yeah,
cool. I like it.
It's
Yeah.
it's certainly not logical. Like it's not something that you can reason, I don't think.
Oh, it's not something that you can reason. Okay. Yeah. Well, I would agree 100%. You know, and in fact, if you think about it, like, and you listen to the way that people speak about, let's say, their goals, if you were to ask them, well, hey, are you going to do that? And they say something like, yeah, I think I can. You know, it's like, that's in the reasoning, that's in the logical, that's in the, you know, educated portion of the mind. But if you hear somebody say, oh yeah, I believe I can, or I know I can, that just sounds so much different, doesn't it? That's like conviction, that's confidence, that's belief. You can feel that. You can feel that. Now, Napoleon Hill, he says that repetition of affirmation of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. There's that word there, emotion of faith. And we know that the logical thinking mind is the analytical mind or the reasoning mind. And your subconscious mind is your emotional mind or your feeling mind. Repetition of affirmation is the only, or of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. So you're right. It's definitely not in the reasoning mind. That's in your sub. It lives in your sub. Okay. Now he goes on to say that all thoughts, good or bad, okay, it doesn't matter if they're good or bad, which have been emotionalized, which have been given feeling and emotionalized and mixed with faith, begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent. All thoughts, good or bad, which are emotionalized, begin immediately to transform themselves into their physical equivalent. He says that your belief or faith is the element which determines the actions of your subconscious mind. That's the element. That's the secret ingredient. That's what he's saying there. Okay. That's the secret ingredient is the belief or the faith. He says, he goes on to say something really interesting here. He says, there's nothing to hinder you from deceiving your subconscious mind when giving instructions through autosuggestion. There's nothing to stop you from tricking your subconscious mind when giving yourself instructions through autosuggestion. That's an interesting statement, isn't it? So what the heck does he mean by deceiving yourself? How would you go about deceiving yourself while giving yourself instructions through autosuggestion?
so would this be like where you talked about before, where in our affirmations we should state them or talk or write them down as if we're in that moment already. So like in the future.
Okay. So
Right.
stating your goals or stating your affirmations, whatever it is you want to experience in the present moment.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that could be part of it for sure. Anything else? How else would you deceive yourself or trick yourself in your subconscious mind? when you're planting seeds in autosuggestion.
Adding emotion behind it.
Yes,
Adding
that's
in-
what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Adding emotion behind it. You think that would help kind of deceive your mind or your subconscious mind into believing something?
Maybe.
Maybe. Couldn't hurt, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else? I think you're both right. Yeah, I think along that same vein is to, infuse your affirmations with things like emotion, with seeing yourself as already in possession of that thing or doing that thing or accomplishing that goal. Allowing yourself to really feel the joy of the goal fulfilled already in the present moment. It's like that whole fake it till you make it type of thing. It's like that be, do, have. Be that thing in your mind. Have that thing already. Then you'll set up that attractive force that brings that thing into its existence, into your life, into reality. I think you're absolutely right. You know, it's so funny. I was out for a little family walk the other night. We're back into this habit of going for evening walks. We kind of got a little loop set up around the neighborhood, and there's a couple of trees that are in the neighborhood that are like my favorite. Okay, and this maybe sounds a little bit weird, but you guys are kind of plant people too. I think you'll probably get this. But there's a couple of trees in particular that are my favorite. There's one that I've shared on social media before. It's got to be a couple 100 years old at least, and it's a maple tree. And I'll tell you, this thing is so big, my entire family can sit at the base of this on one root, not on the trunk, on the root of this tree trunk. Okay, this thing is massive. I've tried climbing into it before, and I can reach the first branch, but it's so big that I can't even get up into the first branch. The thing is huge. Okay, it's magical though. And every time I'm just like there and in its presence, I feel like I just can absorb the energy from this tree. It's unreal. But anyway, I'm getting a little off topic here. We're out for a little family walk, and there's a couple of other trees too. There's like a chestnut tree and an oak tree in the neighborhood. And we had stopped, and I was looking out down on the ground, and I found this tiny little acorn sitting on the ground. And I stopped and I picked it up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. And I knew that we were going to be talking about faith this week. And when you're talking about faith and listening to Napoleon Hill or Bob Proctor, they talk a lot about acorns and oak trees. And in fact, I have this acorn here that Tamara had gifted to me because of that. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Like kind of a bit of a coincidence, don't you think? But I'm holding this little acorn in my hand, and I'm looking at it, and I'd never noticed those before. I had never seen them on the ground before. But I looked down, and wouldn't you know it, I saw like 100 more. Funny how the reticular activating system works like that. Hey, when you start to look for something, now you start to notice it. So I'm looking at the ground, and I'm looking, and now all of a sudden I look up and I see thousands of these little tiny acorns all over the grass, all over the ground. And I think, holy smokes, they're everywhere. And I thought to myself, our goal is like a seed in our mind, right? I mean, we've talked about this before. Our goal is like a seed in our mind. Well, nature produces millions of seeds, don't they? I mean, that oak tree, I ended up looking it up. That oak tree produces about 2,000 acorns per year. You think, wow, that's a lot of acorns, There's a salmon hatchery not too far from my house here, and it's really cool. There's people that come from all over the world to the salmon hatchery, and it's really neat to be able to see the salmon come up the stream to go spawn. Did you guys know that one salmon will lay about 10,000 eggs? 10,000 eggs. Well, guess how many of those eggs actually go through the whole life cycle and become adult grown salmon that come back and spawn? Very few. In fact, it's usually about 10 on average. 10 will survive out of the 10,000. Now, that's a staggering statistic, isn't it? I mean, those stats are stacked against it. But Mother Nature knows that. And that's why Mother Nature produces so many seeds, right? They're playing the numbers game, aren't they? For sure they are. Now, here's the thing. Most seeds will never penetrate the ground. Most of those acorns will never get planted. Most of those salmon seeds or eggs, they won't make it to adulthood. Okay. Well, most of our goals won't be supported either. If our goals are a seed in our mind, most of those won't be supported either. And here's the challenge. If you think about it like this, okay, we've got our conscious mind and we've got our subconscious mind, right? Well, we might have, there's our conscious mind. We've got our subconscious mind. We might plant an idea in our mind as far as a goal, okay, as far as a plan, as far as a wish, as far as a want. But this line here represents the analytical mind. This is the analytical mind, okay? And it's the barrier between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And what happens more often than not, when we talk about our goals or when we repeat an affirmation, what happens? Well, it's going to land right here. You're going to try to plant a seed. There's going to be part of you that hears yourself saying a thing like an affirmation statement. Part of you might say, well, that's not true yet. Or I'm not that kind of person. Or that might be nice for somebody else, but I don't know how to do that. Or that sounds like a pretty big goal. Or that could be real hard. Or that sounds like it's going to take a lot of time. And all of these seeds end up kind of like those acorns on the ground, never penetrating the surface, never getting planted in the subconscious mind. Now, this is partly why I say that the importance of playing the numbers game. This is why we do our affirmation statements hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Play the numbers game. Litter your mind with seeds, just like that acorn, just like that oak tree does, just like those salmon do, over and over and over and over again. And the reason is because, you know, most of those ideas, most of those affirmations will probably not penetrate the surface of your analytical mind. We need them not up here, but down here. Now, there's a couple of tools that I've come across in the past that have been very beneficial with planting those seeds over and over and over again. One of which is called the voice loop, which I've shared this idea with you guys in the past. But I think that there's even a better one. There are some that put your affirmations to music. Like Thomas, you guys. Thomas right now, he's making affirmations set to music. And he's doing like custom stuff about like money affirmations, wealth, health, happiness. You probably get him to do anything that he wanted. Okay. And he's setting it to music that's very rhythmic, hypnotic, okay, and repetitive. And if you think about it, like, you know, I shared with you guys a clip to a link to a song for Limp Bizkit, right? Now, this is a song that I hadn't heard in like legitimately probably like 20 years. Okay. But when that song came on, do you think that I remembered every single word of the song? For sure I did. For sure. In fact, just like Janelle was saying, I was rage screaming. This is embarrassing, but I had one foot up on the couch and I was like rocking right out to this song, Faith by Limp Bizkit. My family was impressed. But I remembered every single word. How did I remember that? I have no idea. If you ask me what those words are, it's like, I don't really know, but you put on the music and it's like, they're back here somewhere. They're going to come flowing out. And we can do the same thing with our affirmations. How? Well, through repetition. I can't tell you how many times I probably heard that song in high school. And with emotion. Most music evokes a sense of emotion, doesn't it? That's why when you like play a song, it brings you back to a time in your life when you first heard that. I heard Jamie say, "Oh, it brings me back to grade 6." You know, I think I was a senior in high school when that song came out. So I had different memories that were associated with that, but you know, same, but different, you know. But I think that there are certain tools and certain strategies that we can use to ensure that more of those seeds end up penetrating the surface of our analytical mind and lodging itself in our subconscious. Otherwise, if we say affirmations or we talk about our goals and we do things like that without infusing it with that emotion, it just bounces out. It stays lodged in our conscious thinking mind. And I'll tell you guys, it's not about what you know. It's about what you believe, about what you do. It's about what you feel on the inside that matters. The truth is that most of those seeds that you find out in nature go unsupported. But most goals go unsupported too. And when a goal is in its infancy, okay, when it's just an idea, when it's young, when you're just starting to work on your goal is like any other physical seed, okay? It's vulnerable, it's weak, it needs to be nurtured and cared for, and it needs to be protected. Well, protected from what? Well, it needs to be protected from doubt, from fear, from worry, disbelief. It needs to be guarded, okay? In fact, The Science of Getting Rich, written by a man named Wallace D. Wattles, which I just think is an epic name. Like, nobody's called Wallace D. Wattles anymore. But The Science of Getting Rich. The first couple of times I read through this book, I completely missed the mark. Had no understanding or really awareness of what he was trying to say. Took me a few times through to really understand this. But there's a chapter in this, and a couple of paragraphs here that really jump out at me. And he says, this will sound familiar. Use your mind to form a mental image of what you want and to hold that vision with faith and with purpose, and use your will to keep your mind working in the right way. In the right way. It's an interesting way to phrase that. And we've talked about this before in the importance of our imagination and enlisting the help of the will to keep that on the screen of our mind at all times, okay? But he goes on to say that doubt or disbelief is as certain to start a movement away from you as faith and purpose are to start a movement towards you. Remember, we're talking about how we attract what we feel, right? We get more of what we think and more of what we feel. Okay. Doubt and disbelief is as certain to start a movement away from you as faith and purpose are to start one towards you. Now, every hour and every moment you spend in giving heed to doubts and fears, every hour that you spend in worry, every hour in which your soul is possessed by disbelief, sets a current away from you through the whole domain of the intelligent substance. So then he calls it the intelligent substance. We could call it the universe. Some people call it the ether. Some people call it the no thing. Doesn't matter what you call it, okay? He says, since belief is all important, it behooves you to guard your thoughts. Since belief is all important, it behooves you to guard your thoughts. Guard your thoughts. Makes sense? You know, if our goal is like a seed in our mind, well, it needs energy to grow. What kind of energy? Well, I would start by saying positive energy. You know, Wallace D. Wattles says that a thing is not brought into existence by thinking about its opposite. You know, if you're thinking about negativity, if you're thinking about failure, it's not going to help you succeed, is it? For sure not. But your goal is like a seed in your mind, and it needs energy to grow just like any other physical seed. But the energy that your goal needs are things like thought energy. Thoughts are a form of non-physical energy, right? We've seen what that does to plants. It needs our words, right? It needs our words, and it needs emotion. Now, I was talking to Melissa the other day, and I was saying that if you're not sure if emotion is an energy, like just get around some real negative people, and man, will they ever suck the energy right out of you. It's emotionally draining, isn't it? Energy vampires, that's what I call those people. Energy vampires. Try to spend as little time with them as possible. Or you get around other people, and sometimes they're so life-giving. You walk away from an encounter and it's like, oh, I just got a little extra pep in my step. You know? But here's the thing. Your goals need to be supported. They need to be given energy, just like any other seed. Okay? In fact, I thought this was amazing. The word desire, okay? Actually, let's back up a second. Socrates used to hold this up for his students. And he would say to them, what do you see? And he would ask them, what do you see? Okay. And people would be like, an acorn. And the answer that he was looking for was he wanted them to say that he saw a forest. He saw a forest, not just a tree, but the potential of a forest. Okay. Now, get this. The fact that the acorn exists means that the oak tree exists. The fact that the acorn exists means that the oak tree exists. Okay. All it needs is to be planted in the ground, cared for, protected, nurtured, supported. And in time, it will grow and flourish, become an oak tree, and produce more, won't it? Well, here's the thing. The fact that you have a goal, the fact that you have a desire, the fact that you have a part of you that wants to go and achieve or accomplish something means that you can do it. The fact that you have a goal means that you can do it, that it is possible. In fact, did you know that the word desire, the origin of the word desire is actually Latin? Okay. The word desire is broken up into two parts, desire, desire. And the literal translation of that is of the Father. Of the Father. So call it whatever you want, the universe or God or infinite intelligence, or like Wallace D. Wattles is saying here, intelligent substance. Okay. The fact that you have a goal, or maybe it's even, maybe it's not necessarily a goal. Maybe it's a talent or a gift or a skill. Maybe it's a story. The fact that you have that inside you, okay, it's been planted there for a reason. Now, whether you want to accept that or not is up to you. But I believe that if you have a passion, if you have a goal, or if you have an idea or a gift, I believe, this is my belief, you can accept this or reject this, that you have a moral and an ethical obligation to share that with other people. You might think, well, that's a lot of responsibility. But that's the truth. That's how I really, truly feel. I feel like if you have something that's unique to you, that's special, that's something that you're passionate about and something that you're interested in, you actually have a moral and an ethical obligation to share that with other people. The reason I think that is because the universe is always trying to express itself to us and through us, and you just never know when your product or your service or your insight might be exactly what that person needs in that moment. You might very well be the answer to somebody's prayer. And if your product or your service or your idea or your story can help another person, I believe we have the obligation to share it. That's our duty. Okay. Now, does that mean that we'll always get it right the first time, the first try, the first time we go to release a product or a service or share our story, or that it's not going to require effort? No. In fact, hell no. You know, a lot of times the most successful people have been cultivating their skill or their craft for years, haven't they? I mean, Messi, the soccer player, right? Played for, I believe, Argentina. You know, he was famously quoted as saying, "It took me 17 years and 14 days to become an overnight success." And a lot of times it takes time and practice, repetition, progress before you get it right. Now, there's a little 4-step process that I've adopted, and you guys are welcome to use this here too when it comes to improving or developing a process or a product or a service. Okay. One, the first step is studying, learning. Okay. Part of the reason why we're meeting here today. Okay. The second step is application or implementing what you learned. That's the second step. Okay. To be honest with you guys, most people don't even get as far as step 1 or 2. So if you're doing this and you're that far, congratulations, you're already winning. Okay, the third step, this is the difficult one. This is the challenge for a lot of people, is to observe your results. Observe your results. Now, it's important to note that in a situation like this, you want to kind of remove your emotions from it, not get emotionally attached to the results. Sometimes people will observe their results and they think it's a reflection of them or how good they are or how worthy they are, or it's just results. And the fourth step is to then turn around and improve. What can I learn from that? What does that tell me? Where can I get better? What do I need to do here? What's working? What's not? And then you repeat that whole cycle. Then you study some more. And then you apply what you're learning. And then you observe the results. And then you improve. And it's over and over and over and over again. It's a never-ending cycle. Study, implement, observe, improve. Now, here's the interesting thing, is that this acorn, the pattern plan is set for this. It's spiritual DNA already designed. Its future, it's decided. Okay. This acorn can't be planted in the ground and be like, well, yeah, I mean, an oak tree sounds nice, but I think I'd rather be a maple tree. Maple trees are pretty. People like maple trees. Or they can't say to themselves, you know, have you guys seen the market these days for apples? Man, apples, they're selling like hotcakes. Let's be an apple tree. The acorn can't do that. Every other creature on the planet that's below a human being, okay, is governed by instinct. It can't decide what it's going to be or what it's going to do or how it's going to live. All of that already decided for it. Bob Proctor talks about how one of the most confusing parts of being a human is that we can control our own environment and create our own environment. but it's kind of a blessing and a curse, isn't it? It's a double-edged sword. It actually is the cause of a lot of confusion, a lot of heartache for most people. Yeah, and I've been there. I've experienced that. Probably still do to a certain extent. But he talks about this a little bit in Success Habits. Napoleon Hill says that every living thing that comes into this world lower than the order of man has its destiny fixed for it by what we call instinct. Its pattern is already laid out, and it cannot go one step beyond that pattern. Man has no pattern except for that which he builds for himself. So men or women have no pattern except for the ones that we build for ourselves. It can be large or it can be small. It can be great or it can be insignificant. Men and women control their earthly destiny if they use the power that the Creator gave them. Well, what power is that? It's the power to control our mind. It's the power to control what we focus on, where we're giving our energy to, where we're giving our attention to, okay? Men and women can control their earthly destiny if we will use the power the Creator gave them and do it in the spirit of belief, that he can carry it out to his own ends. There's that word again, belief. And I think that that's probably what stops a lot of people, is that they don't believe, like Jamie was saying, in themselves, or they don't believe that it's possible, or maybe that it's possible for them. You know, and you hear people talk about this where, you know, their goals, they seem out of reach. They don't feel like the universe is supporting them. Like to Melissa's statement there, you know, she feels like there's forces that are outside of her that are supporting her. A lot of times people don't. They feel like the universe isn't supportive of that. Maybe that there's forces conspiring against them. You hear that sometimes too. And I think to myself, man, the same universe that has sustained life for 4.5 billion years, the planet Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years. The same life and the source energy that has sustained life for 4.5 billion years, and it can't help me lose weight and get in better shape? What? It can't help me earn an extra 10 grand this month? 10 grand. Do you know what 10 grand is to the universe? 10 grand? Nothing. 10 grand is nothing. You know, we talk about universal law. Well, I think that the law of, oh, help me out here. I'll maybe have to share it in the group chat. There's the law of relativity. When I think of the law of relativity, if I think, you know, earning an extra 10 grand a month, sometimes that seems big, seems like pretty insurmountable. But when I think of it in terms of the universe and what the universe is capable of doing, that becomes this small. That's a speck of dust. That's nothing. The same universe that has sustained life for 4.5 billion years, and it can't help me come to a solution or find a solution for my business problem? Are you fucking kidding me? Give your head a shake, man. In fact, there's a line here. Albert Einstein once famously said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the logical mind or the rational mind is its faithful servant. But we as a society, we have created a society where we honor the gift and we forget, or sorry, we honor the servant and we forget the gift. This is Albert Einstein, says that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The logical, the reasoning mind is its faithful servant. But we have a society, we honor the servant and we forget all about the gift. It's crazy. I was doing some research for this call and I was thinking about this. And in this book, The Success Habits, there's a story about a man named Dr. Elmer Gates. Are you guys familiar with Elmer Gates at all? No, me neither. Well, apparently Elmer Gates lived to be about the same time as people like Theodore Roosevelt and Thomas Edison and Henry Ford. And he was an inventor and a scientist. Okay. And apparently has more patents than Thomas Edison, which is really interesting. Why we've never heard of him, I have no idea. But there's a story in this book where Napoleon Hill says that he went to his office to go and interview him in the creation of Think and Grow Rich. And he went to the office and he was met with the secretary. And he asked the secretary, I'm here to see Dr. Elmer Gates. Is he available? And she says, well, he's sitting for his ideas right now. You're going to have to wait. And he was like, excuse me, sitting for his ideas? What do you mean by that? And she's like, you'll have to get him to explain it to you. I can just imagine like the attitude that she had when she said that. She probably scoffed and rolled her eyes like some people do. But he said, okay, well, I'll wait. So when he finally did meet Mr. Dr. Elmer Gates, he said that what he found was a specially built room which was soundproofed and cut off practically from all sound and all light. He explained to me that when he wanted to complete a design of a technical nature or work out a patent for an unknown problem of any kind, he went into this room. He focused his mind upon the known factors of this problem and demanded that his subconscious mind reveal to him the unknown solutions. He demanded that his subconscious mind reveal to him the unknown solutions. He then turned off the lights and waited for results. Interesting. Kind of sounds very similar to some of those sensory deprivation tanks, right? He says sometimes he'd wait 2 or 3 minutes and the ideas would begin to flow in. He says sometimes he would wait for an hour or two and get no results, but he said that the results would come about 85% of the time. Those are pretty good odds, in my opinion, 85% of the time. Okay. Dr. Gates has been credited with more patents than Edison, and this process has helped him develop over 250 patents, 250 patents through the intuitive mind, gifts from the universe planted in his mind when he closes his eyes, turns off the music, turns off the lights, and just demands that his subconscious mind cough up a solution to his problem. Wow. Albert Einstein might be right when he says that, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. But we've created a culture and a society that honors the servant, the logical mind. Now, to be honest with you guys, if I've learned anything through Silva and this material, and you believe anything that Napoleon Hill has to say, they suggest that there's really only 2 times that you should be using your logical thinking mind. 2 times. Those 2 times are to set a goal and to identify problems. To set a goal and to identify problems. That's the only 2 times that we should be using our logical thinking mind. The rest of the time, we should set the goal, identify the problem, and then demand for a solution from our subconscious mind. Allow the creative forces of the universe, infinite intelligence, to provide a solution to our problem, to help reveal a plan, a path. Okay? We've talked about the Silva method before. In fact, I wasn't sure I was going to share this or not, but in preparation for this call, I was reading the faith chapter. This was a couple of nights ago. Okay, I was reading the faith chapter, and I went to bed at night and thinking about it. And then I woke up in the morning and I had the whole call mapped out in my mind. And this whole conversation today came to me like that, where I sat up in bed and I jotted it all down as quickly as I could. And I thought, why am I not doing that more often? Now, it might not appear this way, but I actually put a lot of work and preparation into these calls. In fact, sometimes it takes me like a day to prep for. I have like 6 pages worth of notes. Okay. Full disclosure. But this time, this came to me in like an instant. And within like 10 minutes, I had the whole call mapped out. And I thought, wow, is that ever interesting? Why am I not doing this? This is stuff I know. But am I doing it? Oh, wow. Oh, don't ask me the hard questions. Now, here's the thing. I think that having a plan is absolutely a good idea. We talk about setting a goal, creating a plan, but I'm going to tell you something. The only reason that I think writing down a plan is a good idea, to be honest with you, is because I think that it helps cultivate belief. I think that you begin to build confidence when you can start to kind of like map it out. That's the only reason I think having a plan is a good idea. Because I've found, and Napoleon Hill states this, Martin Luther King will state the same thing, that the plan will be revealed to you as you go. And as that seed gets planted in the ground, you will begin to attract all of the things that you need for the fulfillment of that goal. Stuff will come to you, whether that's through ideas, whether that's through flashes of inspiration, whether that's through chance encounters or ads that pop up that jog your mind and get your creative juices flowing. You can piece that together, okay? Now, do you want to have a plan? Sure. In fact, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was listening to a podcast with Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is popular kind of influencer, real estate guru. He says that you want to have a pathway, like a plan for sure. You even want to have a mathway. So if you have a goal to like earn 100 grand a year, it's $1 million a year or 100 grand a year, like have a mathway to do it. Break it down. Ask yourself, do you have a plan, a product or a service that you can sell one time for 100 grand? No? Okay. Do you have a product or a service that you can sell 2 times for 50 grand? No, I don't. Okay. Do you have a product or a service that you can sell 4 times for 25 grand? No, probably not. Okay. Do you have a product or a service that you can sell 100 times for $1,000? Yeah, I do. Okay. Well, then now let's start to work on how you can start to create those sales. Break it down. Have a pathway and a mathway. But, and here's the kicker, leave room for the miracle. Leave room for the miracle. And those words were spoken to me by a man named Rich Roll. And man, did they ever strike a chord. Leave room for the miracle. Because so often in life, when I've set forth to do something, the universe has a funny way of conspiring in your favor to bring you exactly what you wanted. Doesn't it? So in my mind, I don't even need to have the perfect plan. I don't need to have the process. All I need to do is just work on the belief and plant those seeds of belief and positivity in my mind. Because what? Well, they say that you get what you believe. You get what you believe in life. Now, when most people try to improve any aspect of their life, they usually go to work on the outside, don't they? If you're looking to improve your health or your fitness, a lot of times people will start thinking, well, nutrition and exercise, which isn't bad. I mean, that's part of it too, for sure. Okay. But I would suggest that you address the primary cause of all of your results, which is your belief and your self-image, your ideas of what's possible for you and what you deserve. Looking to improve your business? Yeah, for sure. Look at like profits and loss and things like that, but also address the belief. Go to the inside. Start to work on the belief factor of it. Okay. There's 2 hemispheres to the brain. There's the left side of the mind, which is the logical side of the mind, which so many people are totally left brain logical thinkers. Then there's the right side of the mind, which is the creative side. That's the side of the brain that is a little bit more intuitive or expresses itself creatively. And I find that in a lot of the work that I do, and myself included, okay, people seem to be all about the numbers, all about the logical pathway. It's got to make sense to them. They got to be able to see it before they can believe it. You guys ever hear that saying before? You know, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, maybe the formula works the other way around. And once you believe it, then you'll see it. And it's through that repetition of orders to the subconscious mind is how you create that belief. It's how you instill that faith. Look, Think and Grow Rich, in the chapter on faith, he says the subconscious mind will transmute into its physical equivalent by the most direct and practical media available any order which is given to it in a state of belief or faith, and the order will be carried out. Any order, and the order will be carried out when it's delivered in a state of belief or of faith. Now you can think of it a little bit like this. Here's an analogy for you, okay? People often compare the conscious thinking mind to the driver of a car. And the subconscious mind is the car itself. The conscious thinking mind directs it and tells it where to go. And how do you tell the car where to go? Well, you give it orders, don't you? You direct it, you steer it through affirmations. But the real power is found in the car, not in the driver. The conscious thinking mind is like the driver. It directs where the car goes, but the real power is found in the car, in your subconscious mind, okay? Now, we've talked about affirmations before, and we're talking about faith. Now, I don't know what your beliefs are or your perceptions or views on religion or Jesus Christ or the Bible or anything else for that matter, okay? But in the Bible, if you're familiar with that at all, they oftentimes say that they refer to God as the great I am, right? You guys heard that before? God is sometimes referred to as like, I am, the great I am, okay? Well, they say that I am are the two most powerful words in the English language, because whatever comes after those two words will control your life and your destiny. That's why they say it's so powerful. So a question for you. If the words I am are the equivalent of like God or so powerful, well, what's the opposite of I am? What's the opposite of I am? Anybody?
I'm not.
What's that?
I'm not.
I'm not. Yeah, that's one guess. Yeah, that's what I said too the first time I was asked that. Melissa?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what came to my mind first also.
Right. Well, that's inaccurate. The opposite of I am is am I? It's the doubt. It's the insecurity. It's the fear. It's the worry. It's the wondering. That's the opposite of I am. Am I? I don't know. Sounds nice for somebody else, but I don't know about me. You know, that sounds hard. Probably going to take a long time. I don't know if I can do that. It's the worry. It's the wondering. That's the opposite. Now, we talked before about having faith. And we said, faith in what? And what I gathered from your guys' contribution today was like Jamie said, faith in ourselves. For sure, 100%. Work on that faith in yourself, that confidence and that belief that you can do it. And also, to Melissa's point, work on faith in the unseen. Right? Those invisible forces that are at play. 100%. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said that to believe in things that you can see and touch, that's no belief at all. But to believe in the, what does he say? But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. To believe in things that you can see and touch, well, that's no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen, that's a triumph and a blessing. Now, before we go here, I just wanted to read to you guys. I'm going to leave you with a poem. Okay, leave you with a poem today. This is also found in the faith chapter in Think and Grow Rich. This is one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys have heard this one before, but it says, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain that you won't. How true is that? If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high and rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who believes he can. Oh, wow. Isn't that powerful? I love that little poem. The man who believes he can. So, anyway, a couple of thoughts on faith, on belief, and believe. Any questions, any comments, anything come up for you guys? Anything you want to add there before I let you guys jump?
It's like off that poem is like off Boss Baby. He's like, whether you think you can or you can't, whether you think you can or you can't, you're correct.
Right.
And the kid's like, huh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. 100%. I think it was Henry Ford who originally said that. Yeah. Who was obviously a huge contributor to the book Think and Grow Rich. Funny how many life lessons and morals are embedded into a lot of like Disney movies and shows. Eh? Those parables are powerful. And the truth is that as human beings, we resonate a lot with storytelling. Awesome, guys. Well, hey, homework assignment or action item for this week is to keep hammering home those affirmations. Affirm, 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 affirm. Maybe if you think of it, download this voice loop, because just like this song Faith, right? I mean, if you just play it in the background over and over and over again, all of those seeds are getting planted in your mind. Play the numbers game here, people. Most seeds go unsupported. Most seeds never penetrate the ground. Well, most of those goals, most of those affirmations are probably the same. They're hitting and bouncing off of our analytical mind. So repeat, repeat, repeat over and over and over again. And the more things that we can do to start to penetrate the ground and plant those seeds, whether that's in the morning when we're in alpha theta state, in the evening when we're in alpha theta state, or setting it to music and embedding it with emotion, starting to say it as often, as frequently, and as emotionally as we can. Because let's face it, your life depends on it, doesn't it? Now, maybe not life and death, but the life of your dreams and the life of your goals. Right on, guys. Okay, well, happy Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend. We'll chat with you guys soon. Take care.